was... You saw nothing. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button down below and keep up with all the craziness that is Spoonie and the Roomies. So this video I'm going to be talking about our birth plan for baby number 2. So I guess for starters, this pregnancy, Sean and I decided that we were going to go with a completely different doctor who delivers at a completely different hospital. I do think that a lot of it had to do with our age and how young we were the first time around. However, I did not want to experience it again. So basically with my first pregnancy, the entire pregnancy as well as delivery, we were kind of treated like we were children. And I had my mom and Sean's sister there for emotional support, as well as my mom has been my biggest health advocate from the time that I was 13 years old because of my rheumatoid arthritis. And so she knows my medical records backwards and forwards at this point, at least until I turned 18, and then from 18 on is pretty much I know. So anytime I have any sort of like health issue or concern, I call her and I'm like, hey, do you remember if I ever took this, if I ever had issues with this, things like that. My sister-in-law, my now sister-in-law, she was my soon-to-be sister-in-law then, because at the time that she was going to nursing school and she really wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse. So I felt that with her medical knowledge, my mom's knowledge of me, and of course Sean, because he was the father, that would be a good pick. But it felt like every time we were in the labor and delivery room or the triage room when I was having preterm scares, was that they were talking to me. They weren't talking to me directly, they were talking to my mom, and that was really frustrating for us because we were the adults. It was my baby, it was my body. So we had some issues with that, but I think that I do think that a lot of it had to do with the fact that we were 18 and 19 years old, and they felt that we were babies having a baby and that we didn't know anything, which was kind of true, but they weren't helping me as far as helping to explain anything. And I think that I knew as little as a woman in her 30s who's having her first baby. It's just one of those things. And so we didn't like that. We didn't like the way that we were treated at the hospital. I will say that once I was in my maternity room and we actually, I had Eliza, I think that they treated us really well. They explained everything to us really well. They took care of Eliza and myself very well. They listened to an extent. Like, there were certain things that I wanted that they couldn't do, and that's whatever. But I just didn't want to go through that experience again. So this time around we chose a completely different hospital. We chose the hospital is actually, depending on what time of day, can be anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour away. It depends on traffic. But my doctor's office is actually 10 minutes away from both home or my office. So if there were ever any concerns or issues or anything like that, I could go right there, and they have all the equipment to monitor me and to decide if something is needed or not. And so far we've been treated a lot differently, and I do think that, again, some of it has to do with the fact that we're older now, but at the same point in time, like, I don't know, I don't think that we should have been treated the way that we were to begin with. with that being said, we haven't toured the hospital yet. We don't get to do that until I hit 30 weeks, so we have another about 2.5 months before it's like the end of April, I think, that we get to tour the hospital. I think it's 30 weeks. And we do want to tour the hospital just to like see, you know, where we're going to be delivering, where I need to go if there's like an emergency, you know, that kind of a thing. We also chose the hospital that we did because of it is a teaching hospital, as well as it is the closest hospital that has like all the specialists that we could possibly need there. I am slightly concerned about having a rheumatoid flare either shortly after birth or during, depending on what goes on, what happens, that kind of a thing. And so it would be nice to be at a hospital where I knew for a fact that there was a specialist there, which I do. Also, just to have that comfort of like the baby being somewhere where if something went wrong, there's every specialist that you could think of in that hospital. So that's a huge relief as well. As far as like our birth plan goes, I don't really have one. I didn't have one with Eliza either. I really just like, I tend to be kind of like a control freak kind of a person. I like to know every little detail of what's going on, and when that plan deviates, it kind of messes with me and I get like anxiety. But like at the end of the day, as far as health things are concerned, I'm very much a whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen kind of person. Right now, baby is setting breech, which means that head is where butt should be and butt is where head should be. Head is in like my rib area and butt is in my pelvis area, and it should be the opposite. Baby has plenty of time to turn and to flip. Right now, the biggest issue is that not only are we upside down, but we're also turning the wrong way. So there's a whole bunch of movement that has to go on in the next 12 to 14 weeks. Granted, that's a lot of time. I don't know I just don't know. This baby seems very comfortable where it is. If I do hit, after talking to my doctor, if I do hit 34 weeks and baby still has not flipped, then we will schedule, most likely we will schedule a C-section around 38 weeks. And although I don't want one, at the end of the day, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And although I love my doctors and I love the way that we have been treated so far, I do think that if they make the decision that they want to do a C-section, they're going to find a reason to give me a C-section. And that sound is my heater trying to figure out if it's going to turn on or not. As far as like all of that goes, every doctor's office is different, every hospital is different as far as what they offer you and why and how and all of that. But for me, when I had Eliza, they gave me a drug called Stay Free, I believe. Something. It was a pain medication that they gave to me. It was I could take 2 doses of it. I did take both doses because I wasn't far enough. I wasn't dilated far enough that they felt comfortable giving my epidural, because epidurals can sometimes slow the whole process down, and my process was already going slow with her. And then with her also, my epidural was botched. Whether it wasn't in the right place or I don't really know. All I do know is that I had a ton of back pain after. I had a huge bruise, and I ended up having to go to the chiropractor a lot, and had to do massage therapy to get the tissue and the bruising to break up enough to disperse back into my back. At that point, they believed that there was a possibility that there was like spinal fluid in there as well, which is terrifying. So this time around, I don't have a problem with like the stay free or whatever it was. I don't think I'm gonna get the epidural this time. We'll really just have to wait and see. Again, different doctors, different hospital, so I hope that it works this time if I get it. But at the same point in time, like, I know now that I can deliver a 9-pound baby with a huge head naturally. I can deal with that. I can handle that pain. I can do that. So I'm not like for sure set on no epidural. I would like to try, just because if that's one less thing I gotta do, that's one less thing I gotta do. So we'll see. Also, I want to get some sort of like a stuffed animal to kind of sit in the house and probably like put in Liza's bed while she's sleeping at night, so that the baby gets used to the smells. Luckily we don't have any animals that we have to like accustom to baby smell, not at home anyway. As far as who's gonna be in the room, I keep going back and forth. Sean's obviously gonna be there. He has to be there. It's his baby. Eliza will not be there. I do not want my toddler seeing that. I think that that is entirely too much to handle. From the standpoint of like, I'm an adult and I don't want to see that. But also I think that it would be very overwhelming for her to see me in a good amount of pain and to see daddy stressed. Probably this time around my mother-in-law will be there. My mom was there the first time. And then my sister-in-law maybe. But I feel like Eliza will probably end up with my mom and dad. But we'll see. It depends on how many people they let in the room as well, because again, it is a teaching hospital, so I assume there's going to be lots of people. At the hospital that I delivered Eliza at, we were allowed to have as many people as we wanted in the room, but they asked us to limit it to 6 people. Which like I can see actually, because like throughout the day we had people that came and they visited to see where I was at and what was going on, and hung out with us for a little bit, because by the time that Eliza made her debut, there were people waiting. We had been waiting for months. That's like the other biggest thing with this one, is I don't think I'm going to wait too long, just because it is like a long commute to the hospital depending on what time of day it is. But I do want to wait longer. I want to be home as much as possible and comfortable, or working. We'll see. The only nice thing about I can't say the only nice thing because I've never experienced it. I guess the nice thing about a C-section would be is it is like scheduled, and like I would know when baby was coming. So yeah, that's what we have so far as a birth plan is concerned. Like I said, I don't really have anything, like I don't have like I want this and not this and I want it done this way. Nothing like that. At the end of the day, what the doctor tells me is what I'm probably gonna do. But if you guys have any questions, leave them down below. I will try to answer as many as I can, and we will see you guys in our next video. Bye.